Final adventure number 16. Jacob returns. This one covers Genesis 31 and 32. Jacob got ready to return home to Canaan to see his father and mother again after being away for so many years. He put his wives and children on camels, took everything that belonged to him, and started back toward the land of Canaan, driving his sheep and goats ahead of him. Laban was away when Jacob left, for Jacob had kept it all a secret. But 3 days after Jacob was gone, someone told Laban about it. Laban quickly set out after him. He was angry, for he didn't want Jacob to go. But that night in a dream, God spoke to Laban and told him not to harm Jacob or even speak roughly to him. It took 7 days for Laban to catch up with Jacob, for Jacob had gone a long way, across the river and through a wide, lonely country, to a mountain called Gilead. There Laban finally found him. He asked Jacob why he'd gone away secretly, taking his daughters Rachel and Leah with their children without letting him know, for he wanted to kiss them all goodbye before they left. Jacob said he kept it a secret because he was afraid that Laban wouldn't let Rachel and Leah go. Then Jacob got angry. He reminded Laban of the 20 years he had worked for him, taking care of his sheep and goats, day and night, winter and summer, in the heat and in the cold. And now, he said, Laban would have sent him away without paying him a penny for all the work he had done. Laban replied, "Your wives are my daughters, and your children are my grandchildren. I would never harm them. Let's be friends and promise that we will never hurt each other." Jacob agreed, and they made a huge pile of stones as a monument to remind them of their promise. If they were ever angry and came to harm each other, they would see that heap of stones, and remembering their promise, they would go back home again. Jacob then built an altar and offered up a sacrifice. Afterward, he and Laban and the men who were with him ate together and camped together that night. Early the next morning, Laban kissed Rachel and Leah and their children goodbye and blessed them. He went back home and never saw them again. As Jacob and his family traveled on toward Canaan, some angels met them. Perhaps God sent them to help Jacob, for soon he'd be coming to where his brother Esau lived. Esau might try to kill Jacob for stealing his birthright so long ago. Jacob sent messengers to tell Esau about all that had happened during the 20 years he had been away. He was afraid. Though it had been 20 years since he had lied to his father and stolen Esau's blessing, Jacob still remembered his sin and was afraid of what Esau might do to him in revenge. Jacob's messengers returned with the fearful news that Esau was coming to meet him with 400 men. Jacob's heart sank. He divided all his flocks, herds, camels, and men into 2 groups. If Esau attacked one group, the other group might still be able to escape. Jacob prayed and asked God to save him from Esau, for he was afraid Esau would kill him and his wives and his children. He thanked the Lord for being so kind to him before. He admitted he did not deserve the good things God had given him. When he had left Canaan 20 years before, he had owned only the staff he carried in his hand. But now, coming back, he had all these men with him, plus flocks and herds and camels. He had been very poor before, but God had made him very rich, and he thanked God for this. The next morning, he sent some of his cattle as a present to Esau. He sent 220 goats, 220 sheep, 30 camels with goat colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 donkeys, and 10 donkey colts. He didn't send them all together. He put them into different flocks and sent the flocks one at a time. His idea was that when Esau met the first flock, he would ask the man who was driving it, "Whose cattle are these and where are you going?" The man would say, "They're Jacob's. He has sent them to you as a present." The man driving the next flock would tell him the same thing, and this would continue until all the flocks had been given to Esau. Jacob hoped these gifts, given one at a time, would make Esau so happy that he wouldn't hurt Jacob or his family or steal his flocks or herds. Here are the questions. Why didn't Jacob tell Laban he was going? Why was he afraid of Esau? How can we stop feeling guilty about things that we have done wrong? And what did Jacob send to Esau? Next one will be adventure number 17 called Is Esau Still Angry?